Hello all, and welcome to the Rails Board Orientation Meeting. This is Friday, July 25th, 2025, and I'm Gwen Gregory, Vice President of the Rails Board, and I call this meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. Stacy, will you please call roll?
Monica Colcott, Jean Carroll, Jennifer Kutchell, Megan Gove,
Here.
Gwen Gregory,
Here.
Ron Hallahan, Jennifer Hovanek, Amanda Kowalski here, Rob Parks
Here.
Emily Porter
Here.
Carolyn Sennett here, Alex Messina
Here.
Karen Wojtek here, Catherine Yanikowski, Dylan Goldberg
Here.
Big forum.
Thank you. We will handle guests and public comments at the same time. We will start here in Burr Ridge. Monica, will you start?
Monica Harris, Rails.
Joe Colbeck Rails.
Stacy Palmisano Rails. Brownstein Rails. Jessica Seahoff Rails.
Mark Hatch Rails.
Ann Slaughter Rails. Kate Niehoff Rails. Sharon Swanson Rails.
Sam Daly, Rails.
Ryan Heppel Rails.
Are there any public comments in Burr Ridge? Stacy, will you read the names of the guests participating via Zoom?
Leila Key.
Thank you. Stacy, were there any public comments received by email?
There's no public comments received.
Thank you. Next is Monica with the welcome and introductions.
Thank you very much, Gwen. And hello and good morning to all. We really appreciate you being here for this orientation meeting today. This is really intended as an opportunity to give you a general overview of a lot of the activities that we do here at Rails, but it's also meant to give you an opportunity to get to know one another, to ask questions. If there are things that you want clarification on at any point as we're going through, we have time to be able to answer some of those. So I just want to encourage you to definitely participate in the meeting as we go. We have a lot of different activities that we do here at Rails as a regional library system. And so we don't expect that everything that we share with you today to be immediately something that you have absorbed and are able to make sure that you're contributing with, but just please know that over time, there are a lot of different opportunities to learn more about the different activities that we do at Rails, and we'll do a deeper dive into a lot of these activities throughout the year. The way that we were hoping to start today was just to be able to start with our group around the table here to share a little bit more about yourselves, your background, where you come from, so that some of our folks who are newer to the board get an opportunity to hear a little bit more about you and what brought you to the Rails board, as well as for the opportunity to get to know some of you who are newer to the board, so that we get a chance to do that. So we'll start there. We will also have time for staff introductions just a little bit later in the meeting, so we're going to wait on a lot of those, but I will start just since I'm talking now and just let you know my name is Monica Harris. I'm the executive director here at Rails. I joined Rails in 2020, just in the very beginning of January, right before the pandemic began. I have been in my role as executive director since February of 2023. And previous to my career here at Rails, I spent about 20 years in public libraries, with my most recent position before coming to Rails as the executive director of the Schaumburg Township District Library in Chicagoland. But I have also worked in Michigan and done some instruction at the college level as an adjunct instructor for San Jose State University. I am going to start with you, Karen, and if we can go around the table, that would be great.
I'm Karen Wojtek. I am the board secretary of the Shorewood Troy Library in Shorewood, Illinois. I'm also on the Friends group in Shorewood. And a board member here. This is my second year of second term. What else you want to know about me? Shorewood.
Do you want to say what brought you to the Rails board? What your interest?
You know what? It was interesting. It was our the Shorewood Library director, Jenny Mills, was the one that told me about Rails and wanted to know if I wanted to try to, to be a part of it, because the library's been my whole life. My kids grew up there, and everything I do is around the library. So she thought that I had a perfect, opportunity to keep feeding that. And I really enjoy not so much all the law, but how it works. the process of how you get things done. And it's just really, really interesting to me. So, and I've enjoyed everything we've done with this group, so.
My name's Megan Gove. I'm the Talcott Free Library Director. That's in Rockton, which is north of Rockford, almost to Wisconsin. I've been the director there since 2015. I've been working in public libraries since 2007. I actually started at Hanover Park branch of Schaumburg Township District Library. It's my first library job. But yeah, I was really, interested. Emily had gotten on the board last year and was telling me about, everything you guys do here. And
You were jealous?
and I was jealous. And I just realized, there's not a lot of representation on boards for smaller libraries. And so, to represent a community of 11,000 people and be able to, kind of speak up for smaller libraries and how we deal with things, I think is important. And so I'm really happy to be here.
I'm Emily Porter. I'm the medical librarian at OSF in Rockford at St. Anthony. Previously, this is my second year, first term, second year. Previously, I was the director of the Byron Public Library. Again, having some rural representation is really good, I think, for the health and wellness of all of the members. And then I changed jobs, but I'm still here for all life.
Amanda Kowalski, I'm the director of the Frankfurt Public Library District. This is the second year of my first term. I joined Rails because I was just looking to re-engage with the library world at large. That's all I got.
I'm Alex Mancina, president of the New Lenox Library Board. I was elected there in 2019, so I'm just starting my second 6-year term. And after I'd been on their board for about a year, Rails have put out a couple of calls for trustees to run in the Rails election. I've worked in Illinois libraries my entire career, so I've personally benefited from the programs and services that Rails and the predecessor systems provided. So I thought it was a great opportunity to get more involved and get back. So this is my last year on the Rails board. It's been a really great experience.
Excuse me, I'm Gwen Gregory. I'm the academic libraries representative on the Rails board. This is the third year of my term. I also was on the Rails board from 2016 to 2020. And then I was off, but I've worked in academic libraries in several different states over the years and done a lot of different things. I also was involved in multi-type library systems in other states, so I think they're really important. So I'm always trying to convince people how important they are, including people in academic libraries, and advocate for what Rails can do for you and also what academic libraries need Rails to do, which has been really great. And Rails provides some wonderful services that academic libraries really appreciate.
I'm Roberta Parks. I obviously use Rob, not Roberta, but I'll answer to either. I'm a trustee at Peoria Public Library in Peoria, Illinois. We have 5 branches. I've been on that board for about 3.5 or 4 years. I can't remember. And I am retired. I ran a foundation for Unity Point, Methodist and Proctor and Pekin in Peoria. And prior to that, for about 5 years. And prior to that, I ran the Chamber of Commerce for 20 years.
I am on Senate. For 2 years, it's a 4-year term. I, in my previous life, I was an attorney for 15 years. And then between my husband's travel schedule and my children's very hectic schedule, I decided to take a step back and ended up going to get my master's in library science. And when I finished, one of the ways I heard of Rails was I used the Rails job board when I was looking for a position, but I had very particular criteria and did not end up actually getting a job. But when the elections were coming up for our local elections for library board, someone who knew me said, would you please run? Because we need some people who are in favor of the library to be on the board. So I did that. And right when I started, I think there was some information about the Rails election coming up. And I talked to our executive director and he said, maybe you should just wait a year or two before trying that out, until you've been a trustee. And so opportunity came up for the open position last fall. I jumped on it. It really, really happened. So I'm now in my first official term.
I'm Yolande Wilburn, and I am the director at Evanston Public Library and serving as member at large. I previously filled a vacant seat in 2024 for a brief period of time. So I served on the Rails board previously. I serve on the advocacy committee. I have worked in public libraries, I've worked in academic libraries, I've worked in urban, I've worked in rural. So I definitely understand kind of the struggles that we all have in libraries across the board. And so for me, being on Rails is a way to help advocate for all of those library systems and ensure that we're all sort of looking out for one another. And so that's kind of what motivated me to join the Rails board and run again. So I'm really happy to be here. This is my first full term where I was elected. So I'm looking forward to working.
Thank you all. We're going to pause with Joe and Stacy for right now, just so that they can introduce themselves along with the rest of our team in a bit. But I did just want to take this opportunity to say, this is of course not the full Rails board. You'll get to meet more folks in the afternoon, but I think you can hear just from the discussion around the table, the sort of depth and breadth of experience that Rails board members bring. Layla's part of our staff, so she is going to introduce later, but good question. So we are definitely here to kind of share with you all how much we appreciate the time that you spend here with us. We know so many of you are also serving as trustees for your own home libraries. And on top of that, you're putting additional work into making sure that you're serving as part of our leadership here at Rails. We understand what a commitment that is in terms of time and experience. And I want to thank you very much for doing that. There are also some really great folks who have been on the board for a long time. You can kind of look around the table and see, even, just through Gwen and Alex, some of the experience they've had. Karen has been on the board for quite some time as well. Amanda's been with us for a couple years. So there's a great, well, for a year, 1 year, it feels like longer, sorry, Amanda. But so there. But it's an opportunity for us to really make sure that you're sharing also in their expertise, and that they have a chance to also share with you kind of their experience and the things that they have learned and noted. So I want to encourage those of you who are veterans to our board to add, if you have additional thoughts throughout our meeting today or things that you think are important to note or share, it's a great time to be able to do that as well. So any questions based on our introductions, anything that you'd like to ask of each other at the moment?
I just realized I forgot to say where I work.
Oh, please.
So I was so wrapped up in all the other stuff. Currently I work at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, and I'm the Associate Dean for Collections Management there.
Thank
Sorry.
you, Gwen. No, that's great. Well, what we're going to do now is give you an opportunity to just get a little bit of background about Rails by watching a video that was actually put together by our communications team. Ola, who is sitting back here in the corner, is a primary on this. This is a couple years old now, so there are a couple of things that have changed very slightly, but we still think it's a really good background to be able to share about the work that Rails does and how we put that together.
Hello, I'm Monica Harris, the Executive Director of Rails, the Reaching Across Illinois Library System. Welcome to the Rails Board. We're so pleased to have you join us. We developed this video to help new board members learn more about Rails, Illinois library systems in general, and service on the Rails Board. It can also serve as a good refresher for all Rails board members. First, a bit of history. Prior to 1965, there was very little cooperation between libraries in Illinois. This all changed in August of that year when the Illinois System Act became law. This act encourages cooperation between all Illinois libraries. The act also led to the creation of library systems. By July 1967, there were 18 public library systems in Illinois. In 1983, the System Act was changed to recognize multi-type library systems. A multi-type system includes academic, public, school, and specialized libraries. By 1990, all Illinois library systems were multi-type, except the Chicago Public Library System. The number of systems has decreased over the years, and there are now 3 systems in Illinois. On July 1st, 2011, Rails was formed from the merger of 5 systems in the northern and western parts of the state. The Illinois Heartland Library System was formed from the merger of 4 systems in the southern portion. The 3rd system is Chicago Public Library System, which includes the main Chicago Public Library building and all its branches. Rails serves libraries of all types across a 27,000 square mile area. This includes academic, school, and specialized libraries in the city of Chicago. Rails is funded by an annual grant from the Illinois State Library through the Secretary of State's office. Our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. We submit an annual area and per capita grant application to the State Library by June 1st each year. The Rails Board reviews and approves the area and per capita grant application at their May meeting. This includes an operational plan highlighting our planned activities for the coming fiscal year and a budget. The operational plan is based on the Rails strategic plan, which you'll be hearing about later. Rails is governed by a 15-member board. The law dictates that 8 of those board seats be filled by public library trustees. There is also a specific seat for academic, school, and specialized libraries, as well as 4 at-large seats that can be filled by public library trustees or staff from any type of library. The Rails Board job description outlines the general duties and requirements for board members. These include actively participating in 11 board meetings a year, establishing and approving Rails policies, hiring the Rails executive director, and acting as ambassadors for Rails by promoting our programs and services to staff and trustees at Rails member libraries. All board members sign the job description at the beginning of their service to indicate that they have read and understand it. The executive committee includes the board president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 1 additional board member. Rails board members are also asked to serve on at least 1 committee. These committees sometimes change depending on the priorities of the current board. Rails has approximately 93 employees. About half of these employees are delivery staff. We have 5 service centers located across our area. Our Burr Ridge Service Center is our administrative headquarters. Our other service centers include Bolingbrook, Cole Valley, East Peoria, and Rockford. Rails serves approximately 1,268 member library agencies. A library agency is the main academic, public, or specialized library building, or the main school district office. There are approximately 3,744 individual buildings, branches, and schools in Rails. School libraries represent the largest portion of our membership, though public libraries generally use Rails programs and services the most. We're working to even out that usage a bit more and to ensure that our members know about the different services that we offer. Board members can help with this effort as they act as ambassadors for Rails. All of the programs and services Rails offers flow from our strategic plan. The Rails Board approved our current strategic plan in January 2022. The Rails strategic plan includes our mission statement, which is "We connect libraries." It also includes our vision statement, which is "Thriving libraries are essential to all who learn, live, or work in Illinois." The Rails strategic plan has 4 major goals. The first goal is Rails provides leadership in ensuring sustainable, equitable resource sharing for all member libraries. This goal includes a variety of resource sharing initiatives. It includes delivery, which may be our most well-known service. It includes networking activities because Rails considers it important to share knowledge and best practices as well as library materials. It also includes the discounts we offer to member libraries, support for shared online catalogs, and a variety of e-initiatives, including Find More Illinois, eRead Illinois, Inky.org, and Explore More Illinois. You'll be hearing more about all of our services throughout the year. Strategic Plan Goal 2 is Rails models best practices in equity, diversity, accessibility, and inclusion, or EDI for short. Rails considers it very important to model EDI best practices for our members and to support their EDI efforts. We offer a variety of continuing education opportunities focused on this topic. We have an EDI mailing list for our members to share what they are doing in this area. We also have a world language cataloging services program that is available to libraries statewide. Internally, we have a staff workplace climate team that plans activities to help Rails staff learn more about EDI. We also work hard to make sure we have as diverse a Rails board as possible. This includes diversity in a number of areas, such as race, ethnicity, geographic area served, age, and library staff position. Strategic Plan Goal 3 is Rails assists libraries in preparing for the future. This goal includes our very popular continuing education program. We offer a variety of in-person and virtual workshops for all levels of staff at all types of libraries. We also offer trustee training opportunities. This goal also includes our My Library Is initiative. This campaign is designed to help all libraries to tell their stories more effectively and to demonstrate their value so they will receive appropriate levels of funding and other support. Goal 3 also includes a variety of other advocacy-related activities, such as our project to gather reliable data on school libraries so we can help ensure their survival, some consulting services, and other initiatives to keep our members up to date on the latest trends and challenges affecting libraries. Strategic Plan Goal 4 is Rails leads alongside member libraries to develop and strengthen the Illinois library community and expand services to all. This goal is about partnerships and collaboration. Rails has many statewide partners, and we work with them on projects of interest to all Illinois libraries whenever possible. Goal 4 also addresses the need to ensure that libraries of all types and sizes know about the programs and services Rails offers to benefit them. It also includes our efforts to achieve universal library service in Illinois. There are currently over 1 million Illinois residents who do not have access to library service, and we would like to see this change. This concludes our very brief introduction to Rails and what it means to be a member of the Rails board. Rest assured, you will be hearing a lot more about these topics as your service on the board continues. I am always available to answer any questions you have at any time. Thank you again for being part of the Rails board. We're so happy that you've joined us as we all work together to improve library service for all.
The Japanese movie with Gamora coming out of your mouth.
We weren't quite synced at the end, were we? No, thank you all for your attention to the video. I didn't ask, is there any questions, anything that came up in the context of that didn't make sense or that you want to clarify or even just point out?
That was an awesome video.
It was on our YouTube. Mhm.
But we can send a link to all the board members.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I do want to thank, Ola worked really hard on putting that together. It's sometimes hard to speak about the depth of services that are offered by Rails in a way that's succinct. And I think
Simplified.
absolutely.
You had your thing, it was wonderful.
They did a really good job. This is probably the last year that you will see that specific video because of the strategic plan that's involved, as well as some of the information. But I think it's a really good overview and chance to just understand a little bit more about what Rails does. Other questions or comments on the video for now? Well, then what we're going to do now is just take an opportunity for you to get to hear directly a little bit from the staff. These descriptions that they're going to give are very brief, but you will get a chance to hear individually through the course of the year. We do a service of the month every single board meeting, and there will be a more in-depth presentation about the individual work that's happening in our departments. But today we just wanted the opportunity to be able to introduce you to some of the team here so you could hear a little bit more about what they do. And I'm going to have Joe start us off.
Good morning, everybody. Joe Pelipak, Associate Executive Director. I've been in this role for 2 years, but I started at Rails in 2014 as head of our consulting and continuing education. My role is oversight over several Rails departments, including facilities and delivery, continuing education consulting, and library program services, and of course, serve as acting director in the absence of Monica. But do feel free, especially if Monica is absent, to reach out to me if I can be of support in any way. I'm involved with most of the board committees, so I certainly enjoy working. Thank you for serving.
Everyone, I'm Stacy Palmisano. I have worked here at Rails for the past 6 years in the admin team as an administrative assistant, social projects coordinator, and most recently stepping into Emily's role of executive assistant. And I'm really happy to be working with all of you. Please email me anytime. I'm available for all of you and answer any of your questions.
Everyone, I'm Ola Gronsky, the digital marketing specialist at Rails.
Stand up, please.
Yep. I'm here on behalf of Dan Bostrom, the Director of Marketing and Communications, to tell you a little bit about the department. We're made up of 5 people and it's pretty self-explanatory. We're here to send the message of Rails out to our members. So we do things like manage our weekly Rails e-news, social media, all the listservs that we host. We have our website, of course, the monthly informational video series called Rails Minute, school library podcast called Can't Shelve This. We manage our presence at conferences, all the things about communications. And Jessica here is going to talk more about the member side of things.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Siva. I'm former school librarian for like 13 years, faculty librarian for a little while in an academic setting. I've been at Rails for about a year, and I am the member engagement specialist. So I do all things members, putting new members forward to this board, like I will this afternoon, organizing member meetups, the networking groups. I also organize ways for our members to engage virtually and in person, and conduct site visits and facilitate the My Library is Great. So also open to any questions or if y'all want to chat.
Good morning. My name is Mark Hatch and I am the Director of Facilities and Delivery. I've been here a little over 13 years and I manage the 5 buildings for Rails and all of the deliveries over the 27,000 square miles of the northern part of the state. So September, I'll be doing the topic of the month. So I'll go into a lot of detail, a lot of juicy information.
Can't wait.
There's a lot of fascinating things. So I'll go into great detail at that time. Pleasure.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Slaughter. I'm the Director of Technology Services here at Rails. I've been here for 11 years as of January. I have notes. So I oversee the IT department, which also self-explanatory is responsible for the IT infrastructure, all of our facilities, staff, hardware, software, and meetings like this one, as well as some in-house apps. Also the data team, and the IT department is 5 people. Data team is 2 people, plus next year we'll have an intern. So we have that in the budget for this year, next calendar year. But they provide data support for Rails internal functions, as well as a lot of tools for members, some beautiful reports, one of really smart of which was mentioned in the video, and getting into some expansion of the maps that we have. So you will hear more about that very soon. Finally, the other department that reports to me is cataloging services, which is like 1.3 FTE. They provide a variety of cataloging services to our members, intended to address a lot of long-standing needs. So their training, cataloging items in languages other than English, the World Language Cataloging Service, as well as running a cataloging mentoring program in collaboration with the Illinois Heartland Library System that is just wrapping up its first year. And then in addition to working with all those staff, the projects that I work on, that I oversee, are the support to LSAPs. We have a couple of grant programs. LSAPs are, the acronym is Local Library System Automation Programs. It's a group of libraries sharing consortium, or in some states it's called a network. The 6 LSAPs that are independent organizations, in addition to Carly's iShare Consortium, serve about 40% of Rails members. And they are, like I said, independent organizations. They've always been important partners for library systems. We provide support to them through 2 grant programs. One is the LSAP Support Grant, which is about $2.25 million in the Rails budget every year. That provides operational support to each of the organizations. We distribute that funding via a formula, and then we have a catalog membership grant that provides support to libraries in joining to cover those costs. I also oversee the L2 Library Directory and Continuing Education Calendar, which hopefully you're all familiar with. And then our digital equity work. I serve as chair of the Illinois Broadband Advisory Council, work on a lot of statewide collaboration with our partners and awareness raising for our members. And we are just getting going on a project with Cook County to support a digital navigating network among public libraries. So all those things will be hearing a lot more about when we cover them, but that's a summary of me.
Do you work 100 hours a week? I'm glad. I don't want you to be working 100 hours a week, but my goodness, that's so many things.
Monica, didn't Anne win something recently?
Well, the most exciting thing is the work that Anne did with Cook County and this $850,000 grant that was received for these pieces, in addition to her work on the Illinois Broadband Council. So this is really huge, especially in the context of some of the things that are happening federally with digital equity and the cancellation or termination of some of those awards. So we're really, really happy to be able to continue that work, at least in a limited way here in Illinois.
I'm Kate Niehoff. I'm the Director of Consulting and Continuing Education. And on the consulting side, we answer questions from library trustees, library directors, library staff about all things libraries. So we say we're the reference desk for librarians. We're a 3-person team. We organize continuing education events for Rails members, but we also partner with other organizations like the Heartland Library System and ILA, the state library for things like Directors University, which is coming up in just another. And we also coordinate all the training for Rails staff. So.
And I'm Sharon Swanson. I'm the finance director here at Rails. I've been here since March of 2012. So a little over 13 years. I've been in progressively responsible roles. I'm most recently finance manager from January of 2022 until July of 2025. And at that point, I was promoted to finance director. So I have a talented team of 4 accountants. Together, we do the accounting for Rails and for 2 of the 6 LSAPs that we support, as mentioned. And we do the typical things the accounting department does. We pay all the bills, we invoice all of the members, we do all of the work that goes in behind the financial reports, as well as assembling the reports to present to you all and to demonstrate good stewardship of our funds to our number of libraries and to the public at large. I do prepare in concert with Monica and you all on the annual budget as a part of the component of our area per capita grant to the state of Illinois. And I also coordinate the annual audit. And my staff also coordinates the annual audits for 2 of our 6 LSAPs that we support. I also play a vital role in terms of their compliance with accounting policies, procedures, and everything that we need to be compliant with for our grants. Last but not least, I guess.
Hi, I'm Sam Daly. I am the Director of Human Resources. I've been in this role for 2 years, but I have been at Rails for going on 11 years. I started as an HR assistant, then I went to an HR generalist, then an HR manager, and then I moved on. And in my capacity, I make sure to always tell people that I have a dual role, is to protect the employer, but advocate for the employee at all times. And I take those roles very seriously. Some of the core functions of my job is talent acquisition and retention, policy compliance, employee relations, benefit administration, and that's just to name a few. I hope to get to know all of you guys during your time and your terms here, and welcome. You want to introduce yourself, Ryan?
Sure. I'm Ryan Hubble. I'm part of the IT team. I'm generally the person in charge of handling most of our in-house staff. And I think I've talked to almost all of you about sending through emails initially. If you have any kind of questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to myself or IT, and we're happy to help.
I think you'll find during your time here at Rails that we have truly a really incredible team here. I know many of you have had the opportunity to interact with a lot of members of our team just through the things that you do here at Rails, but we do so much. And this team is really dedicated to the mission of Rails and also to making sure that members are served in the ways that they need to be. And so I think that you will have a really positive experience. Layla, I just looked back at the screen and realized you're there and I hadn't called on you. Go, please speak.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I don't need to.
Okay. I'm Layla Heath. I'm the Director of Library Resources and Programs, and I've been at Rails since 2019. My areas of responsibility include the Deals and Discounts program, and that area is responsible for securing advantageous pricing for our library resources. Other areas include eRead Illinois and Inky.org, which are statewide programs for shared e-content collections. Also, my area includes Explore More Illinois, which is a statewide cultural pass program, as well as Find More Illinois, which is statewide ILL service. These programs are all rapidly expanding due to our Rails member participation and support, and we are truly grateful for it. Very exciting times. So my amazing team of 6 and I look forward to sharing more details about each of these programs in upcoming months. And I welcome I share everybody's welcome to all of you on the board.
Thank you, Layla. My deep apologies for the delay in getting me to speak.
No problem.
Does any of you have any questions, anything that you would like to ask the team, either based on their descriptions or just anything that occurs to you? Yeah.
So how many new directors, because it's really essentially for new directors. Right. So I guess I'm wondering how many each year I would make a point to have that many new directors.
I think there might be more turnover than you think. I mean, this is only my second time going through. But we have 25 this year. We accept 50 applicants. I know last year we didn't have quite 50, but usually we represent just over half of the directors at Rails territory versus the hardware.
And any plans to open it up to someone who wants to become a director, maybe they're like an assistant director level, or this would give them the training they need to help advance them to be prepared when those director slots open up.
I think it's something to think about because we hear a lot from people wish that becoming a director was less of a mystery before you actually got there. So
yes.
We are going to be talking a bit about the brand new Rails Catalyst Leadership Development Program that is meant to get at more mid-career kind of leadership level skills. It's a little different than assistant director and administration skills, though. Other questions, comments? Okay, well, where we're going to move now is to go through the items that are in your folder. So you have a folder in front of you. We are going to start on the left side of your folder and then just kind of go through bit by bit. Again, if you have questions that you'd like to ask at any point during this discussion, feel free to just go ahead and mention them. This is really meant as an opportunity for you to learn at your speed. So I will try to make sure that we're not going too quickly through this, but if you want me at any point to clarify anything, please do share. Anything at this point, Gwen? Okay, so we're gonna start on the left side with your Rails board member job description. You heard a bit about this in the video, and some of the things that we shared in the video are also shared here. So it tells you a little bit about the makeup of the Rails board as well as our territory. It does tell you a little bit about your responsibilities on the second page. It goes through kind of general duties and responsibilities and requirements. A little later in the meeting today, we're going to talk through some of the ethics of being a Rails board member. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this today, but there is an acknowledgement that you have read this that we will ask you to sign and give to us. So we will come around and ask you if you have time to go through it and sign it today. We would love to get it from you just to make sure that we have that on file. Next is a little bit of information about attendance, travel reimbursement, and meeting participation. Later in the meeting, we will go through some details, especially as the sort of meeting participation piece goes. But if you at any point want to reference kind of what Rails does and what you need to do in terms of turning in reimbursement forms or looking at the ways that we want you to interact with your Rails email, all of this is available on this one page that you should be able to see and note. One thing that I always think about you, Karen, when I think about this is all the acronyms that we use here at Rails. So Library World loves acronyms, and we try very hard to make sure that we are not just using the abbreviated acronyms and being clear about who those groups are. But our team did create a Rails board acronym glossary. This is meant to help you to understand some of these more frequently abbreviated acronyms that are often used, to share a little bit more about what these items are. So you can see it's 9 pages long, but it's LOL. But it's a good opportunity to look through, especially if your day-to-day isn't in the library world and some terms might not be as familiar to you. But I would encourage you, as much as we try to make sure that we're being very clear about what we're talking about, if we slip up and just use an acronym and you don't know what it means, please call us out and ask what those things are, and we will absolutely share them with you. But I did just want to note that that is available in your packet. Next is a little sheet that was put together by Julie Tappendorf from Ansel Glink, who is the Rails legal counsel. It's 10 things to know about OMA, which stands for the Open Meetings Act. Many of you who are already trustees, as well as those of you who are involved with libraries, know probably a lot about the Open Meetings Act, but this is really meant to give in a succinct way all of the things that we need to keep in mind when trying to make sure that we are abiding by the Open Meetings Act. Rails, especially for all of our board meetings and board committee meetings, does need to abide by the Open Meetings Act at all times. So it's important that we are very clear about how we communicate, not just with each other, but in the context of these meetings. And so you can really see sort of the sample things that we all need to be able to do. On the back of that sheet is a more general piece also from Julie about the 10 things to know about public comment at meetings. So this is sort of shared about what is allowed in public comment. Some of you may even find this useful in terms of bringing back to your own libraries, but public comment and making sure we abide by the requirements of public comment is also very important. So that is shared there. We did actually just update our own public comment policy just within the last year or two, just to make sure that we're currently in keeping with best practice regarding public comment. Any questions about any of those items that I have shared so far? Okay.
Participation at the East Peoria facility count toward the quorum?
It does. So we have special dispensation because of the amount of miles that we cover because of 27,000 square miles. You can participate either from any of our video conference locations, which would include East Peoria. We also, and we will talk about this a bit later, there are also opportunities to participate from another public space with some specific stipulations like posting the agenda at least 48 hours in advance and making sure that it's open to the public. So there are opportunities for you to meet other than coming here in Burr Ridge. We do try to get as many people as possible here in Burr Ridge, especially for the July meeting. And we also typically do 2 offsite meetings a year where we go to other meetings within the rail service area. Those typically are not in the Chicagoland area. We try to move outside of those to make sure we're having an opportunity to connect more with some of the other areas that we serve. And we do think that in-person meetings are a great opportunity to get to know each other and connect, but we totally recognize that that's not realistic to do at all times, especially for those who are coming from far away. Yes.
If we know that we have a major event coming up that's going to conflict with a board meeting, would you like to know that in advance or just at the time that we're figuring out the quorum?
As much as possible, we would like to know in advance. That can be communicated with Stacy. She keeps really meticulous records about who we can expect to be there and not to be there. It's always important that we have quorum. And of course, we want to have as many people as possible in participating at meetings. But the more that we know about that in advance, the more we know if we're going to run into any type of issue with quorum. That becomes more important, I would say, at the board committee level. Board committee, we typically have a lot of participation in the monthly meetings at a point where quorum doesn't become an issue, but it has become an issue at the committee level at some time. So in as much in advance as you can on anything that you know, it does help us to organize and make sure we've got what we need. Great questions. Other questions at this point? Okay. Well, that's a good segue into our discussion about committees. As you probably saw in the video, it's really important that every Rails board member is participating on at least one committee. We know that there's a lot of commitment that goes into this, so we're not really expecting you to participate in more than one, although if you have interest, we can definitely talk about that. We will be talking a little bit about committees in the afternoon meeting, but we just want to make sure that you're aware of what the board committees are. What you have in your packet are actually the formal charges for each committee. So the language is a bit formal. I'm not going to read through those, but they will tell you a little bit about each of the committees. But I do want to just share a little bit about what each of these committees are that's in your packet. So the first is the Rails Advocacy Committee. This committee is really focused on a lot of the issues that are happening in libraries of all types. We focus a lot on issues that are happening within Illinois, but we also focus on things that are happening at a federal level, especially right now. Included twice a year are also reports that are coming to the American Library Association's Council from the Intellectual Freedom Committees and Freedom to Read, as well as the more general legislative action committees, so that that committee can also be aware of some of the things that are happening on a more national level with libraries, in addition to the things that are happening in Illinois. We also, in the last couple of years, have moved towards really trying to have a presentation at each of these meetings that's coming from a member to really talk about some of the issues that we're facing. Or if it's not coming from a member, it's coming directly from someone who is involved in these issues as opposed to being presented by the Rails staff. This group meets 6 times a year, so every other month, to discuss through some of these issues. And they also determine sort of at the beginning of the year some of the topics that they'd like to cover. They also from time to time have been involved in doing different projects that are related to advocacy. And so we are always talking to them about opportunities for things that they would like to see this committee working on that can help to improve advocacy throughout. Of course, all Rails board members, we encourage you to be advocates for Rails and library issues. And that's one of the reasons why we share a lot of this information in the Rails board packet that you'll receive every month, as well as have these discussions. Next is the Rails Consortia Committee. This committee includes representatives from each shared catalog within Rails, and that is our LSAPs. Anne talked to you a little bit about those, but that shares a little bit of information about these folks who are in these shared catalog systems. It's really important that we regularly meet with them, especially because so much of the resource sharing that we do here in Illinois comes through the borrowing that happens through those shared catalog systems. Not every library that is involved in Rails or throughout Illinois is part of a shared system, but many, many are. And so they have an opportunity to share the things that they need to know with one another, as well as for Rails to be able to communicate with them about some of the changes that might affect them. So that group meets 4 times a year. By the charge, there are only 2 Rails board members that are on that committee. And some of these do have limits in terms of the numbers of board members that can be involved. So I'll share that with you as well as we go through.
Why would a library not be a member of an LSAP?
You know, there are several reasons. Some are so small that they can't afford it, that their feeling is that they just don't have the resources and to be able to participate. Although in talking with a lot of these folks, one of the things we would share is, of course, the value that you receive from being part of an LSAP is a really huge value for your community. Especially, we know from talking to Kendall Orison, who's the director over at RSA, that some of the smallest libraries that they serve in filling their holds, 95% of the materials that their patrons are receiving are coming from other libraries. So the value that they receive from being part of it is really huge. That said, some of these libraries that are Rails members really have very, very, very little money to work with. And so that's one reason. The other reason sometimes potentially is more control over your services. So there are some libraries who are standalones who are more resourced and they prefer to have more control over what system they have or more control over what materials are available for their own communities. And so that's another reason that has sometimes led towards standalones. Am I missing anything, Anne, that we would know in terms of why people might not be participating?
No, it's so unique to each community that it's a complicated landscape overall, and
There have been a lot of libraries joining some of the LSAPs even in recent years, I would say, and Rails does facilitate that through our catalog membership grants, which allows us to help to cover the cost of libraries who are interested in joining an LSAP, and that helps.
Initial cost.
Initial cost, yes, not the ongoing cost. Good clarification, Emily. That is really about hoping to take away some of those barriers so that people can have that participation. And that's, again, just in service of resource sharing, which is always our #1 goal in our strategic plan, as well as just in the Library System Act. Great questions. Other questions, either about consortia or the other committees for right now? Okay, I'm going to just move us to the Rails Executive Committee. This committee's membership is the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and one additional director. That's your at-large member that constitutes the executive committee. They do not meet on a regular basis, but they do meet on an as-needed basis. One of the opportunities that they might meet is in the hiring of an executive director. That group is going to be really important to that process, but they also might meet if a trustee needs to be appointed throughout the year. That's another time that they might meet, or there may be just other things that come up throughout the course of the year that require the attention of the executive committee. But that's not a regular meeting, but that group does meet regularly when needed. Next is the Rails Policy Committee. This is also a committee that didn't necessarily have a regular meeting, but we have been in the midst of a very large looking at all of the Rails policies over the last 2 years, including the entire Rails handbook. We expect to be able to bring a full revision of the Rails handbook to the full Rails board this year. And in service of that, the policy committee has been meeting once a month. That group does a lot of work, a lot of very detailed work towards that end. And it is automatically chaired by the vice president of the board, which has been Gwen over the last 2 years. It is a great committee for folks who are very interested in that kind of detailed work of Rails, although we do have limitations of the number of people who can be involved in that committee just to keep it focused. So we'll be talking a little more about that in the afternoon. Next is the Rails Resource Sharing Committee. This is sort of a counterpoint to the Consortia Committee, in that they also are focused very specifically on resource sharing, but not necessarily just in service of the work that's happening at the consortia level. There's a lot of discussion of things that are happening in our deals and discounts program and in delivery in the Resource Sharing Committee. And we do share reports that the Resource Sharing Committee creates with the Consortia Committee, for example, because of the overlap in the work that they do. Their charges also look very similar. So just very similar to the Consortia Committee, there are only 2 board members who can serve on this committee. The rest are filled by members. And then the last committee that we'll be talking about today is the Universal Service Committee. That committee is focused on the unserved. So as you saw in the video, there are 1 million people in the state of Illinois who do not currently have public library service. And so this committee is really focused on finding solutions, at least to move us in the right direction towards having more solutions towards universal service. That group actually just updated the Universal Service Plan in 2024, and they're working towards that. They're also going to be presenting at the Illinois Library Association's annual conference about universal service in an attempt to get more awareness on this issue. And so for folks who are really interested in continuing to move the needle on that, this is potentially a really interesting committee to be involved with. And this one does not have a limit. So if people are interested in getting involved in a committee, it's a great one to get started with. Any questions about any of that for now? Okay, we are going to move on to just a little bit of discussion of the system area and per capita grant application, which includes your operational plan. So this document was actually just approved by the Rails Board in June. As the meeting said, we typically do this in May, but there was a bit of a delay this year because of changes in the funding models, and the application process for the Illinois State Library was delayed this year. So we actually had the opportunity to be able to share that with you today. It's quite a detailed document. And so what we wanted to do is just to be able to share some highlights from what we're going to be working on this year. This is by no means exhaustive. And so it's really intended just to give you a little bit of an understanding of what it is that we're going to be working on this year. But if there are any questions that come to you, either while we're going through this or as you're reading through the operational plan and you want to know a little bit more about what we're sharing, we'd be very happy to do that. Let's see if I can share on the screen. Thank you. And thank you, Ryan, for your instruction. I appreciate it. So we're just going to share, again, just a few highlights about the plan today. And so we've organized these on these slides a little bit differently than they're organized here in the packet, so don't feel like you have anything to follow along with. But this first is just in keeping members informed. So one new thing that's happening this year, we've already spoken about it a little bit, is the debut of Rails Catalyst. That's the leadership training program for libraries of all types. The board was actually involved in some discussions last year in terms of what they thought was important in terms of development of leadership programs. We think it's really important as a multi-type system to make sure that this is a program that is available to folks of all types. I have certainly been hearing about the importance of having a mid-career, early career leadership program in Illinois since I have become executive director here. So we are really excited to be able to debut this program. We were also really thrilled to be able to do this in a way that does not incur cost on behalf of the libraries because of funding that we received from the Illinois State Library that we're able to apply to this. So what that means is that people are going to be able to apply for this program and be able to use it just as part of their Rails membership. So while we expect the process to be competitive because we only have 40 spots, there will not be an additional cost to participate in this program, which we hope means that it will be available to many different types of libraries and people who might not otherwise be able to participate. It will have 2 in-person components on either side of the 8-month program and then 6 months of virtual in the middle. This is a new program for us, so we're excited to learn a lot, and Kate did a lot of development on this with the team, so this is going to be something really exciting to see. Another thing coming out of Kate's area is Niche Academy. We're really excited about this new learning platform offering for all Rails members. This is an opportunity for people to do some asynchronous learning in their libraries on a variety of topics. And this is something we're really thrilled to be able to roll out to the Rails membership because we know people have a diverse group of learning that they want to be able to cover. And we think Niche Academy is going to be able to do that for them. We're also excited about the further development of Railcar. Railcar is an acronym that is for data collection and analysis that's related to those consortia and library automation programs. So we've been talking about this a lot in the consortia committee over the last year, but it's really a chance for them to share data about how they do their work and be able to compare with one another. This becomes increasingly important, especially in the absence of a lot of potential federal data that we know that we may be missing out on in future years, is to continue to analyze our own data that we're able to collect and share here, at least for our own learning. We also are really excited about the update of the Rails resource sharing map. I will show you, for any of you who are interested in a tour, our last big map was created in 2019. So this is a huge debut of a lot of the updates that have happened in the Illinois landscape, and it's entirely digital. Our data team has done a really amazing job of learning ArcGIS, which is a very complex software program in order to be able to manage this in-house. We saw a little bit of a demo of that at the Rails board a couple of months ago, but we will be debuting this for all members to get to see some of this coming up in September. So really excited about that. We are also thrilled to continue to promote and improve the school library advocacy through education, which we call SLATE data dashboard. That's data about school libraries. Many of you may or may not know that we were contacted by Keith Curry Lance, who is a researcher who does a lot of data learning about school libraries. And what he shared with us at that time was, of all of the missing data about school libraries nationally, half of that missing data was from Illinois, because Illinois libraries, school libraries especially, just were not sharing their data about that. So we took on this project, especially with the help of Jeanette Durucki, who's part of our data team, to really build out an understanding of what was happening in school libraries. That includes information about how many certified school librarians there are, but also funding, collection size, all of this information about what's happening at the school library level, so that it could become an important advocacy tool for those who are really hoping to understand what a school library should look like. So that program has been really important, and it was all kind of achieved a lot with the help of the ISLE Partnership, which is a group all across Illinois library organizations in support of school libraries. We'll talk about that a bit, but that's something that we're always excited to continue to expand and share.
Can I back you up?
Of course.
The resource sharing map. So
Yes.
I'm very familiar with GIS.
Yes.
I don't know what kind of resources would be on a resource sharing map for libraries.
So there are a few different layers. So to start, a lot of what we're sharing is information about consortia. So which libraries are in which consortia versus which libraries are standalone. You can also see on that map the number of unserved areas. So just kind of as you're looking at it, you can see where all the individual district boundaries are when they're looking at it. There's a lot of interest in continuing to be able to drill down on other things, as well as things like demographic information about the unserved or legislative districts, different layers that we can add to that mapping to give more information. But what we're debuting beginning in September will be somewhat limited, although much more expansive than we were able to do with just a paper map. And then we're going to continue to look at ways to develop that info, of course. Other questions about anything on the screen I should have paused to ask? Yes.
What are we covering in Niche Academy? I don't feel like I've heard about it.
Well, this is new. It hasn't happened yet. So this is coming up in fiscal 26. Do you want to speak about that a bit, Kate? Just.
It's an online learning platform. It gives us access to a ton more continuing education, lots of different media types. So not just live recorded presentations. It does include some of those, but also, reading and links out to articles and things like that. So it just kind of will be able to expand what we're able to offer.
So just additional learning offerings that are available to all members.
We're going to have like a trustee training.
Yeah, we can.
Looking for more homework? Not for me.
For trustee trainings for boards, understood.
Well, that's a good segue into training. So let's see. So we wanted to talk a bit about Rails infrastructure. So we expect to begin work on the next Rails strategic plan this year, not until 2025 is over. And we'll really be looking at how we want to approach the next strategic plan. We don't expect to be done this fiscal year, but that work will begin. And so that is budgeted. We are also looking more closely at artificial intelligence, or otherwise known as AI. We had a really interesting program that was funded through a Rails continuing education grant. It was an AI ambassador program that Dominican University did. We've heard a lot of really fantastic feedback about that program and what people learned about how AI is used in libraries, as well as the ethics of AI more generally. There was also a program at New Jersey Link, which is a sort of interesting sort of counterpart to Rails and the work that we do in New Jersey, that did a lot of training around this and understanding. We hope to be able to offer some level of learning around this, especially for Rails staff, as we need to develop our Rails AI procedural manual this year. And the last year we did update our AI ethics policy. So we do have our first AI policy here at Rails, which is really focused on ethics. But in this next year, we need to start to begin our work on procedures and how we actually incorporate our work with AI and just really determine how we're planning to use it. So that's some work that we expect to see internally. I already mentioned the update of the Rails employee handbook that we've been working on with the policy committee. And then we also just have a lot of facilities updates that we need to make sure that we're maintaining good work of our buildings. What I have mentioned here, some of the capital assessment goals that are happening at our Burr Ridge building, including chiller replacement, ceiling tile replacement, and server room reconfiguration. But we are always looking at all of our buildings to make sure that they are well maintained and that we're not leaving a problem for the future. Any questions about this slide? Okay, I'm going to highlight just some of our departments here, but we do so much work, and a lot of what I have already mentioned is spread across several departments. But delivery, as we mentioned, is one of the services that are very, very, very important to our members. So we wanted to be able to focus on some of the things that are happening in delivery. So over the last few years, we've really worked hard to continue to replace vehicles in our fleet. Our fleet was aging, and then we ran into real supply chain issues during COVID in terms of being able to get renewal vehicles. So we've got 2 new delivery vehicles scheduled for this year to continue to move that along on a regular schedule. We are also working with the Rails Consortia Committee to explore updated reporting options for the quarterly delivery count. I'm sure many of you that are working in libraries understand the quarterly delivery count. It's really important that we get those numbers so we really understand how materials are moving through the system, but we are in discussion with the consortia to see if there's a way that we can also use the reporting that they do to help with those numbers, at least for libraries that are participating in the LSAP. So those are things that we're looking at this year because all the consortia or many of the consortia use different platforms for infrastructure and automation. It makes it a bit challenging because you have to be able to compare apples to oranges. And so we're trying to see what we can do. But we know a lot of our libraries would really appreciate the opportunity to have that reporting come directly from the consortia rather than to have to do all that quarterly counting themselves. So that's something that we're exploring this year. We are also working with CARLI, which serves academic libraries and statewide partners, Illinois State Library, to find innovations for our next ILDS delivery service contract. Heartland, the Illinois Heartland Library System is also involved in these discussions. In particular, we've been talking a lot about turnaround time. So I won't get too much into the details here, but currently our ILDS contract, which serves our academic libraries, requires a 24-hour turnaround time, which is compared to all of our other members who receive materials within 48 hours of when it enters delivery. That creates some bottlenecks for the systems in terms of being able to actually get something across the state in 24 hours that requires us to do an overnight shuttle. It's difficult for staffing reasons. It's difficult because we don't have backups when someone is sick or unavailable. So this is something we've been talking about with them for some time, and we expect to see some progress on this in the next contract. But so that's something you'll hear more about as we go through the year.
So what's ILDS at risk of not looking at my?
I know I have to see if I can remember what ILDS actually stands for. But long story, it's Illinois Library Delivery Service. Okay, thank you. But it is essentially the service that provides delivery to the academic libraries. So they have a separate contract with us that comes outside of the work that we do to serve all the rest of our libraries. Great question. And so that's something that you will continue to hear about. Some of you may know that we actually transitioned our sorting work that was happening through our external jobber. We do have one group called CTL that does some of our delivery for libraries because a huge concentration of the materials that we deliver is in the Chicagoland area just because of usage that happens in the Chicagoland area. We do have an external delivery service that does delivery overnight, which really helps with things like traffic patterns. But we did transition the sorting that was happening at that location back in-house. So that has moved to our Bolingbrook location, which means Bolingbrook is now sorting 6 million items a year. And that's of the almost 9 million items that we deliver a year, 6 million are being sorted out of one location that we have. So we are hiring a supply chain consultant to help us examine workflow and sorting at that Bolingbrook operation, just to make sure that we're as efficient as possible and we can get through that material as quickly as possible. We really appreciate the work that has happened from Mark, Demond, and our whole Bolingbrook team in making a lot of those changes in this last year. And you can expect to hear more about just continued tweaks to that process to make sure that it is running exactly the way that we want it to run. And then we're always looking at ways to continue to explore efficiencies related to delivery. It's part of our strategic plan. It's in the System Act that it's very important that we continue to always find ways that we're serving our members as strongly as we can. And that is in terms of efficiency, but also in terms of service. Any questions about delivery? Okay. I'm going to share a bit about library programs. You got to see Layla virtually, and a lot of this are the things that are happening in her area. So our deals and discounts program, which is focused on procurement. One of the things that it's really important to be able to note about procurement is that we do not charge an administrative fee in order to make that happen, which means that we are paying for the staffing, for the staff who negotiate those fees, but libraries just receive the cost of what that negotiation is. So deals and discounts actually saved Rails members plus some additional, because we have some statewide programs. So people from Heartland and can also benefit from those programs. There's $2.1 million in savings that actually came out of that program just in fiscal 2025, which is really, really exciting. We're really thrilled that this is a program that has been able to grow the way that it does. Layla and her team do an amazing job in making sure that they're able to identify great vendors who really can serve our members the way that they need to be served. So really thrilled about that. Next, we want to talk a little bit about our eRead Illinois program. That is our shared ebook and audiobook program that is facilitated here at Rails. We have over 900 folks who participate in that program statewide, which is really amazing. We're really thrilled that we have so many people who are able to participate in that program. And this year, we're actually investing an additional $100,000 to support the purchase of ebooks and audiobooks in that shared collection. Currently, right now, the fees that libraries pay to participate in eRead Illinois entirely go towards the collection of that program. And so none of the fees that they pay to participate in eRead go for the administration of the program or the platform fees that we have to pay in order to have it. It is also a Baker and Taylor program, which is really exciting because it is, a little bit different than what is offered by Overdrive or Cloud Library. So it's really thrilling to be able to work with them on this project as well. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about Explore More Illinois. Explore More Illinois is our cultural pass program. That is a free program to participate in. Every library can have that access to Explore More Illinois, and then their patrons can have access to a ton of cultural attractions that are available, as well as discounts to those programs. That program actually got a big rebrand in this last year, which was really exciting. So we're glad to be able to pull out some more marketing materials for them. But one big area of growth that it's good to know if you're just kind of joining us is that Chicago Public Library actually joined with Explore More Illinois about 2 years ago, which exploded the growth in that program. And part of the reasoning for that is some of the cultural attractions that we had never had access to before as part of the program came on board when Chicago Public came on board. So it was a great example of a partnership that we were able to facilitate that really benefited everybody here in Illinois. And then we also wanted to just share that we want to continue to support Find More Illinois. Find More Illinois is a shared platform where libraries can actually borrow materials and share with one another outside of even the ILS shared material. This is meant to be a chance for libraries to be able to be part of Find More Illinois and have a shared collection. That collection is now over 7 million items, and which is really exciting. We've seen a lot of growth in this program over the last few years, especially. We are especially excited about the potential to bring on some more academic partners in this year. It's one thing we've heard over and over again from those who are participating in the program, that having access to the robust and sometimes esoteric collections that the academics have available would be a huge growth value. So we've looked at that really carefully, both in terms of the fee structure and then bringing on academic partners as lender only for those who really want to participate in sharing those materials. Can also in some ways be a way to sort of go to Find More first before you go to a national system like OCLC in order to be able to get material. You might be able to look in your state before you actually have to go nationally to look at other materials, which benefits us in multiple ways, including, because we can get free delivery for materials that are coming in Illinois. But we actually talked at our last consortium meeting about how that even benefits us from a sustainability standpoint, that even the carbon footprint of borrowing materials within Illinois really benefits us compared to getting things shipped from other states in order to come here. Layla and her team have been working on a new updated fee structure for Find More Illinois this year. And so you can expect to hear more about that this year. But I think, again, something to just continue to grow the program and to make sure that it's sustainable moving into the future. And finally, we're just looking for ways to support the Illinois State Library statewide database program. We are so thrilled that Secretary Janulius found the funding to have a shared set of databases that can be accessed by anyone in Illinois, including the unserved. We expect that hopefully they will be able to roll out a more robust publicity campaign around that, hopefully in this next fiscal year, now that their new website is available. I know that they have a new brand that they're looking at for that program. So we want to make sure that everybody knows about that and can find ways to use it. So that's something we're really looking forward to in this next year as well. We also, our strategic plan, the second goal of our strategic plan is related to equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. It is important that we continue to move forward on these goals. And to that end, we have increased our investment in digital accessibility funding for Rails. And that's to make sure that materials that are on our website are digitally accessible and that we make sure that our materials are available to anybody in whatever way that they need to be able to see it. We've also added a sponsorship of accessibility, and that's specifically American Sign Language interpretation for Illinois Libraries Present this year. That's a program that many of you may know about that moved from being a shared program within Illinois under the umbrella of the Illinois Library Association. And just this year, it's where they bring in really exciting speakers and presenters to talk about books and then be able to share that with communities through virtual programming. And so that we should be able to add that ASL interpretation through that sponsorship from Rails and Heartland this year. We are also always continuing to focus on equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility focused training, both for Rails staff and for our members. And we're going to continue the full equity audit of the Rails personnel manual once that new version is completed to make sure that we're meeting what we need to meet in terms of our goals. We are also looking at a new member-led initiative development for EDIA where people will be able to network and work with one another. That's a new piece that we expect to move forward on in fiscal 26. Advocacy is also really important. And if there's one thing that I think we learned this last year with all of the changes at the federal level, it's how important it is that Rails continues to lead in terms of communication around issues that are affecting libraries. So we are really continuing to make sure that we are dedicating information sharing and awareness around funding issues that are related to libraries, both in terms of federal funding and then also state funding, just to make sure that everybody knows the issues at hand. We also want to continue to support continuing Illinois Library Association legislative priorities. So in Illinois, the Public Policy Committee of the Illinois Library Association really focuses on new legislative initiatives that might be affecting libraries, both issues that they might support as well as issues that they might oppose. I serve as ex officio on that committee, but there's a lot of legislative priorities that come through that committee and then are voted on by the executive board of the Illinois Library Association. We do a lot of sharing through e-news, the Rails Minute, through our Rails board meetings about some of the things that are coming in that direction. And to that end, actually all legislative proposals that are going to that committee are due by August 1st. So if you know anybody who's interested in a new legislative proposal this year, now is the time to get them in. So we can expect at the August 4th meeting of Public Policy Committee to hear more about what people are proposing to have focused on for this year. We also want to create support for the Illinois State Library and the Illinois Secretary of State's initiatives. Since Alexi Janulius has come in as our Secretary of State and State Librarian, there have been a lot more legislative opportunities coming through that office in terms of supporting libraries. Sometimes they're supporting things like the ban against book bans, Public Act 103-100, but sometimes it's getting more funding for libraries. Just in the last year, Secretary Janulius advocated for an additional $4.6 million in the Illinois State Library's budget to support libraries who are sort of the most under-resourced in terms of public libraries and their their funding that they receive through the per capita. So we want to make sure that people are aware of those efforts happening at that level, as well as ISLE, who is the organization that supports school libraries. They have put forward some legislative efforts this year, one of which was to try to get a task force related to having a school librarian in every school. So we're definitely working with them on making sure that there's some awareness around a lot of those issues. We also, through our Rails Advocacy Committee, talk about a lot of this stuff and focus on it as well. So those are efforts that we will continue to work on with that committee moving forward. We also have some really amazing grants that we are able to offer here at Rails, and I think that's a really great way to directly support the needs that our libraries have. So one of those is our My Library Is grants. Those grants are directly focused on libraries telling their own story. So through communications, being able to propose ideas they have for how they can tell their story to their own communities. We last year gave just over $100,000 towards a number of libraries to do that. Those libraries then detail the campaigns that they have on our My Library Is blog. So you can actually go to My Library Is and read about the work that those libraries are doing to share. And our hope is that once those programs have been developed and funded by us, that other libraries can say, hey, that was a great idea. I want to do that myself and take that under their own wing. So we're excited to be able to continue to support that program. We also have a limited number of continuing education grants. That's for libraries that want to be able to offer some type of continuing education, but want to receive some help on funding that. They have to be able to open that up to other Rails members to attend. So it's another way to extend the value of resource sharing that we do. So we're really looking forward to being able to look at that again in this next year. Catalog membership grants, which I mentioned a bit earlier, that's that opportunity for that one-time cost for them to be able to join an LSAP to help with that covering of those costs. And the LSAP support grants, which is the funding that we give directly to the consortia to help support their needs. That's a pretty considerable amount of money, but we do that because we think that the work that's happening at the consortia level is so important to continue. We also find it very, very important to continue collaboration. Yes.
I was just thinking the same.
Am I talking too fast? Or, okay.
You've been talking for like an hour. I just felt like,
I'm sorry. I'm almost done. I promise.
You're fine. We just
Okay.
give you.
Fair enough. I'm doing just fine. Don't worry about me. So collaboration with our statewide partners. We have a lot of amazing library support organizations here in Illinois, and it's very important that we come together to make sure that we're all amplifying each other's work and not duplicating effort. So we meet a lot regularly with our partners and make sure that we're doing as much as we can to support each other's work. So one thing that I did mention earlier is that Partnership for School Libraries. That group meets monthly and includes folks from the Illinois Library Association, the Illinois State Library, also includes, of course, folks from ISLE, as well as Heartland. We have a lot of people there to kind of talk about some of the big issues that are happening and how we can support each other. And a lot of great things have actually come out of that partnership. We've done some really great work with that group. We've done some really amazing things with broadband and digital equity initiatives. Anne leads a lot of those. We actually had a really great application for a digital equity grant in partnership with Heartland and Carly to try to support the work of libraries that were happening here in Illinois. That funding is not available, so that's not something that we're able to move forward on at the moment, but we have a great plan. So if we are able to identify some funding, we know we'll be able to hopefully move forward on an application at a later time. Broadband and digital equity is something you'll continue to hear a lot about because it's so important and supports the work of libraries. Libraries are also really valuable community anchor institutions when it comes to making sure that there's broadband available. And broadband, increasingly is really just a utility. It's something that everyone needs access to. And especially as some of these programs are going to require more support, things like Medicare and the changes that are happening there, people are going to need to be able to receive internet so that they can actually put in their applications and do these things. As you go into some of these rural areas, especially in Illinois, there just is not access to fast speed internet. And then people just don't realize how difficult those needs really are. And so we'll continue to talk about that because it's so intertwined with the needs of libraries and what we do. The Cook County Digital Navigator Grant Program, we did talk about a little bit, but that's the great side of that, which is that we were able to receive some funding because of the vision from from Cook County in terms of the libraries in Cook County's important parts in making sure that digital equity and broadband and all of these supports for digital navigators are there. So we're really excited about the development of that program. And again, we're really hoping that after we develop that program, maybe we can learn lessons that we can apply more widely if we can find more funding. Illinois State Library Advisory Council. The Illinois State Library has an advisory council that meets bi-monthly to talk about the important issues at the Illinois State Library level. I do serve as a voting member of that group, but it is made up of representation from all across Illinois, including Rails members, as well as Heartland and Chicago Public. So we're really excited to continue our work with that group. I serve on the Dominican University's School of Information Science Advisory Board. That just came up as of last year, which has been a really great opportunity to hear more from the library school level about what they're focusing on, what they think it's important to have new library students know and understand. So that's been a really interesting point. And then we all, honestly, I say but all of our staff meet regularly with people who work for organizations at Chicago Public Library, at Carly, at the Illinois Heartland Library Association, Library System, the Illinois Library Association, and the Illinois State Library. So we're working constantly with these folks to make sure that we're supporting each other's work. You'll see the things that these folks want to make sure that they're sharing in our e-news. We work together on lots of projects, so you will hear much more about them, but that's something that we always want to make sure that we're focused on. Sorry about the issues with the slideshow. I'm stopping talking. Any questions anybody has?
Great job.
This is Rails. We are so fortunate to be able to work with a board who's really supportive of these services and continuing to see them move forward, and a staff that's so dedicated to them. So this is all we want to do. We want to continue to do our work. And that's why we are so focused on these issues of federal funding, because we know how important it is that we continue this work. And so we will continue to talk to you about why it's important. And you are our ambassadors for making sure that other folks know about what we're doing.
So am I correct? There's 4 LSAPs in the Rails service area?
There are 6.
Well, if it's a system-wide automation program, why isn't that just part of Rails? Why don't we just do that?
So I don't want to.
There's an area of like regional library system, area of regional library system services that's really complex.
So people are pissing at each other.
But the shortest answer I can come up, there's a little bit of that. But when LSAPs were originally established, there were many more regional library systems, and the model was for each library system to start an LSAP, and so a lot of the LSAPs and as departments of systems. And then lots of things have happened since then.
And we inherited that system.
Well, yes, we did. There's been a series of mergers, kind of like, as there were library systems.
That answers my question.
Some of them also started independently. For all of them.
That answers my question.
Well, and also technology has changed a lot since the systems were developed. So it went from, there were a lot of different options for what kind of an OPAC you want to have. And there was a lot of merging, and Innovative took over like a bunch. Anyway, so the options now are limited, but I think that there are consortia that are very set on the kind of technology that they want to use. Nobody wants to change.
Right. Got it.
And I also would add to that, I think within the different systems, there is specific data that you get out of this. And the consortia, they sort of set, these are the things we're gonna allow you to have. So if you want different data and you can't get it, then that's where you start seeing some conflict. Say, hey, we need this other information and we're not able to get it, then that might be why someone would want to break out on the access to data. And again, I think with the greater technology we have now, the options are bigger. Does this work with other software and technology that we're currently using in our library so it can all talk to each other? I think that's another big concern.
So any library within the Rails geographic area can join any of the LSAPs?
They tend to fall along.
Geographical lines. Okay.
Also, people don't like change.
No, I understand that.
You did? Sorry.
That's like the real crux, I think. That it's hard to convince boards to change. It's hard to convince staff to change. It's hard to convince patrons to change. And so we just.
And the changes with these kinds of organizations are massive.
Mhm.
And very expensive.
And I've done so on the Universal Service Committee, I'm working on a project where I'm trying to understand how other states' library systems function. And there are quite a few that run their own LSAPs for the libraries within their state. And from every library director that I've talked to, they are not interested in doing that, but like, that's just the baggage that they've received. So I think that it's really great that we can separate ourselves from that technological aspect of the job and the work. We can focus on other things.
Illinois does have a unique system, but I do think it benefits us in lots of ways to be able to separate delivery from the ILS and also to separate all the other ways that we do resource sharing, because then it can benefit the widest amount of people, where the individual ILSs, I think even when we explored the idea of like, what if we just tried to bring everybody together into one ILS, there's just not a technical equivalent for that. There's so many people here and so many libraries because of local control that even knowing if there was a system that could even handle it doesn't seem possible. So, but some interesting conversations have certainly happened. I do, just in the interest of time, want us to just look really briefly through the other things that are in your folder. And so I will just call your attention really quickly. So L2, there is a thing about creating a new L2 user account. You probably already have an L2 account. We just want to make sure that your Rails board membership is under your L2 account. It should all be there and in place, but we can help you with that if you want to either take a look and make sure that it looks the way that it should. But that gives you just access to things that are happening at the Rails level that we want to make sure are listed. If you don't have an L2 account, you want help setting it up, we can absolutely help you do that. Ryan's here, we're here Stacy's here to help us with that as well. We've got a memo in here that gives you just the full procedure for mileage reimbursement. It's pretty easy to follow, but this is in your folder in case you're driving to us and you need reimbursement. That is also listed there. We've also got in your folder a conflict of interest form. This is just as part of an ethics ordinance. We need to make sure we're aware of any conflicts of interest you have. So we will be asking you about that. Make sure you just take a look. You can create a disclosure if you need to and sign off on that. There is a brochure in here that just kind of really briefly goes through some of these services we've talked about today. This is on the right side, by the way, of your packet now if you want to take a look, so you can take a look at that and see what's listed there. There is also a copy of our 2022 to 2025 strategic plan. We did go through what some of those things are listed there, but you can see the whole thing on this piece of paper. It's also on our website. We also, everything that we report at Rails flows through our strategic plan. So every month when you read the Rails report, it will show you updates just as they have appeared under strategic planning goals, so you can follow along and see the new ways that we're always looking at that every single year. There's also a copy of our bylaws here. You can see, some of the updates that have been created, but the bylaws are just important to understand. If you have any questions about the bylaws at any time, always happy to answer them, as well as some of the law that is related to Rails. So this is not light reading necessarily, but it's important to know when you want to take a look and get a chance. So the admin code rules, administrative code, the License to Read Act, System Act, all of those laws that really pertain to the work that we do here at Rails are there in your folder so that you can take a look at that when you'd like. And then the last thing on this right side is this policy on meeting via electronic means. This really gets into the detail about how we can make sure that we're abiding by the Open Meetings Act when we're meeting electronically. Again, we have that special dispensation because of our geographic area, and this explains exactly how that works, but we can also explain that to you one-on-one and talk to you about what we can do to make sure that you're meeting all the needs that we have to do if you need to meet with us off-site. Any questions briefly about anything that was in your folder?
Thank you for providing printouts of the legal things because it's very difficult to read online.
I understand, absolutely. And we do work with those regularly. Joe especially is probably the most well-versed in a lot of that that's happening here at Rails. So it's really, if you want some additional support or clarification, always happy to help with that. All right, we just have 25 minutes left and I think we can get through it, but if you need a break, we can also take a quick break. Is there any feeling about that in either direction? Okay, let's try to get through it. Let's see what we can do. So Stacy and I are going to flip off a little bit back and forth in this next bit just to share some things that you need to know. But I'm just going to start out with some information about where to attend. So at our board meetings, you're going to vote on the board meeting calendar for fiscal year 2026. That's going to happen this afternoon. We do travel to different locations throughout our service area. We have networking lunches before the meeting and invite local members to attend. Sometimes we go to a new construction of a library and get a tour. It can be a really interesting day and a great way to connect with members. We are actually targeting our September meeting potentially for an offsite meeting. So we'll talk about that a bit in the afternoon, but just a good thing to be aware of. Quorum, we do need quorum to hold our committee meetings, both our regular business meeting as well as any committee meetings that we have. That policy on meetings via electronic means that I just showed you, it's the very last one on the right side of your packet, really gets into the details of that. But because Rails covers that large geographic area, the Open Meetings Act allows library systems to permit boards and committee members to attend meetings by other means other than physical presence. But quorum always has to be physically present in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Excuse me. If we do not have the quorum, we cannot have the meeting. We have a couple of times had to have committee meetings that we had people travel for to come, and then we didn't have quorum and we had to cancel the meeting. It is terrible when that happens because people have spent a lot of time and energy to get the places that they needed to get, and then to not be able to have that meeting on top of it is really difficult. So we always want to encourage all of our committee members, which are not just board members, to communicate with us their expectations around being there and do your best to be able to come when you can. If you can't attend in person, Stacy will always help to make sure that you're included in the quorum, or your admin lead on your individual committee that you're serving on will also help to make sure that you're aware. Stacy.
We're gonna look
Breathe.
Okay, so there are 3 ways that you can attend a meeting. In person at one of the Rails service centers is ideal. When I say service centers, you can come here to Burr Ridge, and we have East Peoria. So what you would see is East Peoria would be on the screen, and you would be in one of the meeting rooms at East Peoria, and you're considered part of the quorum. And we also have guests that can come there. So those are the 2 locations that Rails has. What I'm going to do is 2 weeks prior to the meeting, I'm going to send an email out to everyone with a survey, and you're going to tell me if you can attend and where you're going to attend from. That way I can set up the agenda. So the agenda has to list exactly where all of you are attending from, because these are open meetings and public is welcome to any of the locations that you will be attending from. Okay, the second one is you can attend via Zoom. So if you are going to attend at your library or a public library, you can do that in a room that is available to the public and has ability to have Zoom with a speaker so that people can hear, and available if a public comes in, they can say a public comment, and you should have some type of a monitor. So that room would be on the agenda. That would also be posted at that library saying that this is a public meeting, that the public can't come into that room. So I can help you with reserving a space at any library that you'd like to attend from. You can do it as well on your own if you'd like. Reserving a space, you can do, as long as it has enough chairs for public to come in. 3 or 4, 2 additional chairs really would be doable. Any questions on the second location?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I do attend via Zoom, and our meeting room is right off the children's department, and it's very loud. But I was unsure whether I could shut the door or not. Like, I kept it open for a little bit, and like then like halfway through the meeting, then I would shut the door.
I would just advise, as long as you have right before the meeting, maybe even 2 minutes in, then shut the door, just as long as it is open and it's visible that they can come in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, that's fine. At my board meetings, I'm also a board trustee member at Indian Prairie Public Library. We have to do the same thing. We want to make sure the door is open so people can come in, and then we shut it once we officially start. Right? Okay, so the third way to attend would not be included in the forum, which would be logging into Zoom in your office, on the road, at a hotel. You can attend the meeting that way, but you're just not considered quorum, and your vote will not count toward any of the votes. So Rails libraries or Rails locations is 1, or in a public space is 2, ideal. Right? Any questions about that? Awesome. Okay, now I gotta hand it back to Mark.
But we prepared a brief video, thanks to Ola, on board ethics that Ryan's going to get queued up for us now. This is new this year, but this is just to share a little bit more about what it means to be a board member here at Rails.
Hi, I'm Rails Executive Director Monica Harris. Congratulations on your new role on the Rails Board of Directors. We thank you for volunteering your time and investment in Illinois libraries. Being on the Board of Directors is a big commitment. Before you start, we want to make sure that we clearly communicate the expectations that come with this role. You should have a copy of the Rails board member job description in your orientation packet. In it, you'll find specific tasks related to your role. In this video, we want to highlight a few extra things that will help your transition to the board go smoothly. The first one is simple, and you likely already understand it. We expect any member of the Rails Board of Directors to support the Rails mission and strategic plan. If you need a refresher, you can find it on our website. Your presence is important. As a public body, Rails has to meet quorum. If we can't reach quorum, we typically have to cancel those meetings. That's a big drain on our staff and resources. To help avoid that, we expect that you will attend all board and committee meetings. Our meetings typically take place in person at the Rails Burr Ridge office. But because the Rails service area is so large, you have a couple options for how to show up to those meetings. You can participate in person at a Rails service center or in person at an approved video conference location. To participate virtually and count towards a quorum, you can join via Zoom from a public location. But the important thing to note is that you have to post the board meeting agenda at that location at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. If you have issues attending regular meetings, please reach out to us. We'll try to figure out the best way to ensure your participation. I think everyone understands, but it bears repeating. We expect all Rails board members to act in an ethical manner. That means we expect you to adhere to the Open Meetings Act, disclose conflicts of interest, maintain confidentiality when necessary, and treat others fairly and respectfully during board meetings. Our member libraries have come to expect this level of integrity from Rails, and that includes both the staff and the board of directors. I hope you will help us to maintain that reputation. For each meeting, our staff works hard to put together an agenda that includes minutes, financial reports, and other relevant information so you can stay up to date on what is happening with the system. Please make sure that you're reading all of this material before you attend our meetings so that we can have an informed discussion. It goes without saying that we expect our board members to be strong advocates for Rails and for libraries at large. As a library system, Rails often operates in the background, and a lot of our work is behind the scenes. We need strong ambassadors who are willing to talk to their networks and other stakeholders about the benefits that Rails offers throughout the state. As a trustee, there's more that you can do outside of board meetings to stay informed. Here's how you can get started. You can subscribe to the Rails e-News. It's sent out every Wednesday and covers Rails news, upcoming events, grant information, and more. You can follow us on social media and interact with our content. Likes and comments help more people see what we share. If you feel so moved, share our posts and Rails e-news with friends, family, coworkers, or other trustees. We don't expect you to change how you use email or social media, but these simple actions can help move our message beyond our regular audience. We know you're taking in a lot of new information today. Rails is a friendly place where people are eager to help each other out, so please don't hesitate to reach out. My door is always open if you have any questions. Once again, thank you for your time and your willingness to serve on the Rails board. I look forward to the great work that we're going to do together.
Abola.
Good.
Otherwise, about like where you can participate from the board meetings. It listed all of the service centers, including, because I can't go to Rockford delivery to.
For Rockford, I believe Dan checked and they said that Rockford, did he talk with you, Ryan, about the monitors at Rockford?
Basically, the issue with the other sites is they are all up and running, they can support meetings, but we don't always have personnel there to open the buildings. So it would take, not impossible, it might take more of a setup.
There's plenty of libraries to go to.
Yeah.
It's a good clarification.
Rockford in general, there's only like three people there on average, and they're usually all driving.
And they're all done in the afternoon.
So it's like a 4 o'clock meeting isn't going to work for them, like advocacy. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Any other questions about that for now? Okay, so it was a lot of repeat information, but sometimes it's helpful to hear things in a couple different ways. So we appreciate that. Stacey, you want to kick off the travel reimbursement form?
Yeah. Any travel that you do for committee meetings or board meetings is reimbursable. So please take advantage of that. I did email you the electronic version. I'm gonna do an update because it had Emily's information on it. So I will give you a new one. If you can and have the ability to open in Adobe and use this form electronically, you can electronically save it and then email it to me. That's great. Only because we have the numbers are hidden inside spreadsheets, so it will automatically calculate the miles to this. That's great. If that's not feasible for you, no problem. Just fill it out, scan it, and then email it to me, and I can take care of it for you. Okay. Let's see. Be sure to include your address so we can mail you a check. That's important. And this, if the state mileage changes, I will send you a message telling you that it has changed, and then you can use this form. It has happened in the past, but it could be unlikely. Because what do you think, Sharon? It has happened.
It normally happens every January, but sometimes those would be the same, but tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. And I encourage you to do it after every meeting. That's great. If not, at the very least, please do it quarterly. Don't wait till the end of the year, please.
Next, we're going to talk about how to participate and contribute during board meetings. So we do create an annotated agenda for the board president or any of our committee chairs as a guide or a script for all of our meetings, which helps us to follow along and make sure that we're all on the same track. The chair will always ask for a motion and a second for any action. Anyone can respond to that. So an example is the chair will say, can I have a motion for, and name the reason for the motion. So I could say, so moved, Monica. And you want to say your name just so it's easy for Stacey to make sure that she's aware of who said the motion. Then another person can reply, second, Joe. Like, so that's how they're going to make sure that we know who did the motion and who did the second. It sometimes gets a little challenging because we often have people who are participating in video conference as well as here. So there may be sort of pauses or people who do a motion at the same time, in which case we'll just clarify who did the motion or the second. There will then be a roll call vote if the vote is financial, or the board will be asked, all in favor, say aye. Then everyone who wants to say aye says aye. We'll often pause to make sure that we're getting something from anybody who's participating via video conference. And then all opposed say nay. If your vote is nay, then at that point you would say nay. The motion is then approved or denied, depending on how the vote moves through. After a report, the staff and board members will always ask if there's any questions, but you are free to ask any questions at any time during the meetings. Next, we're going to move on to video conference locations and sensitive microphones.
We're going to talk a little bit about the video conference locations, microphones. Just be aware that they are sensitive. We discourage any kind of sidebar discussions because it will be picked up on the video. In the video, we do publish on YouTube. And also with if you see the little puck there, if you move around and do a lot of this will also be kept on the recording. So try to refrain from doing that.
Or eating chips.
Or eating chips.
During the meeting, like finishing your lunch. Are you trying to be really quiet? They can hear it every time.
Or whispers inside conversations. I know sometimes you might just want to make a little whisper to the person next to you, but the microphone will catch that and it will end up on the recording.
I can add to that, these new microphones, since we moved to the Zoom rooms, are much better with paper shuffling and non-verbal, but they are tuned to verbal. So if you any kind of conversation or whispers, it will pick up on it. So.
Okay. The last part, which I realized we don't have closed captioning, but we're going to make sure we have closed captioning going forward on our meetings. So if you feel like you need to see closed captioning on your computer, you're welcome to join in on the Zoom meeting, even if you're here, and you can see the closed captions a little closer. So we're going to make sure we do that.
Good job, Brian.
He's on it.
All right.
Now we are going to move on to email accounts for Rails board members. So you need a separate email account as a Rails board member, and that's for a couple of reasons. All email exchanges related to your board service are subject to the Freedom of Information Act, otherwise known as FOIA, and for FOIA disclosure. So for this reason, you have a Rails email address to use for all Rails board business. In the event of a FOIA request received by Rails, our IT department will download and submit the emails because we have access to that. If you're using a separate email address, either work or personal, you'd have to go through all of those emails and submit them through a FOIA process. We have had FOIA requests in the past. It's a good thing to be aware of. So one request we can share is someone who wanted all emails from 15 specific people in the last 3 months that contain the words thanks or thank you. That's a lot of emails. And so we don't want you having to go through all your personal or other work email in order to make sure that we're compliant with that request. So
smart.
Sometimes people are good at those things. But so that's one thing we did want to make sure you were aware of. Stacey.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the importance of checking your emails regularly and responding promptly. So you've already experienced a lot of emails from me already. So I really appreciate everyone's attentiveness and looking at the emails and clicking on the links that I provide. I will be also continuing to do the polls, as I mentioned. I am planning on doing 2 weeks before the meeting, sending an attendance poll. And then 1 week prior to the meeting, you will get the full email that has Zoom links if you're attending other locations, as well as a link to the packet and a link to the most important lunch. Okay. So if you could please be diligent about looking at it every day, every couple of days. If you need help, Brian can help you find your email. Does magic so that you can see the
magic
pop up. So then he's available today if you'd like to talk to him. Part of the committees is also in looking at your emails. Myself, I will be also looking at some committees, but we have Karen who does committees. She's a special projects coordinator here. Mary Kate, who is just moved into the special projects coordinator position. She's also going to be handling meetings. And Brenya Krempel, Brenya is an administrative assistant. She handles meetings. So you're going to be getting some from the admin staff. Please look at those and respond, your attendance, looking at your packets, and if you have any questions. On a side note, we will be hiring a brand new administrative assistant who will be attending the committee meetings and learning everything. Any questions about that?
I do.
Yes.
Is there any way that we can do it as a calendar invite? It seems like it might make it easier for you, where people can just accept, like, I'm gonna be there, they hit yes, and then you know that they're coming, or no, and I know it's another calendar, right? Right.
So
That's what
I'm
feeling.
very happy to do a calendar invite. The thing is the locations. I need to know which location each one person is gonna be at, to make sure that location is added to the agenda. So, is everyone's good? I can do a calendar invite. Once all of our schedules, at the next meeting are gonna approve the schedule for the entire year. So then I can send out a calendar invite for each one. So at least it'll be on your calendars and you have that. Okay.
But Stacy will still need to confirm what location you're attending from, just for our own agenda. No, you're good. So just in terms of adhering to the Open Meetings Act, Open Meetings Act certification is necessary. We have to have that on file. Some of you may have already done Open Meetings Act certification through other public bodies that you're involved in. So Stacy will be reaching out to you just to either give you the instructions on how to go through the certification process or to receive your certification that you may have done already. So just be expecting to receive that from her. We do also want to let you know that when you receive an email from a Rails staff member or fellow board member, please refrain from using the reply all option. On your Rails board email address, we actually have reply all disabled. So if you are to reply all to someone, it'll actually just go straight to Ryan and not go to everybody else, just to help that we don't accidentally incur any violations. But it's just a reminder that that's something that we're not allowed to do under the Open Meetings Act. If you do want to let the whole Rails board know about something that you want them to receive, you could just email it directly to Stacy and Stacy can send it out to everybody. But that makes sure that we stay within the tenets of what we need to do for discussion. Any questions about that? Yes.
Just to bring up something, it hasn't happened in a while with the dual, what, you know, the.
Multi-factor authentication, yeah.
It was it was Alex and he had sent, he didn't, but somebody pretending to be him had sent something to me asking a question that I thought was, kind of board membery that he would just ask me. So I, contacted him directly to see if he did that. And then I sent the email to Ryan's staff to let him know. They've kind of fixed that, but just so you know, just in any kind of emails, I'm sure, and anywhere you've ever worked, you have to know how to, no one will ask you for money. No one will ask you for specific information like that. Okay. No one will have half a board meeting with just you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Karen, because I think it's really important. We do have phishing attempts from time to time, people who identify themselves. You'll certainly probably get one from someone identifying themselves as me, and they are harder and harder to track. We will have cybersecurity training for you throughout the year to kind of give you a chance to understand some of the things to look out for. But in the meantime, if something looks even a tiny bit strange, I encourage you to please be extra cautious and cynical about things that are coming that are anything outside of the ordinary, because there are a lot of attempts to try to get at board member information, trying to get you to purchase gift cards on my behalf, things like that, that we want to make sure you're aware of. All right, Gwen, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about any of the stuff we discussed today? This is not your last chance, but it is a chance. Okay. Talking about the informal sort of buddy system. In the past, some veteran board members have volunteered to mentor new board members. If anyone is interested in being a mentor or a mentee, you can ask or offer during one of the breaks or contact Stacy about it to get her to coordinate it for you. So one last chance. Now is the time to ask any additional questions you may have about your service on the Rails board.
I don't have exactly that kind of question, but it would be so cool if Ola did a class on how she put those videos together for our member libraries. For our member libraries, because I was still a public library director, I would steal almost every line for an orientation for my board. So.
And Ola did a really great social media presentation recently as a continuing education piece. That is that recording available? I'm not even sure, but maybe we can see if people.
Yes, that one is recorded.
Yeah.
That's just more like digital marketing. It's not specific videos, but. I'm sure Kate's good.
Throw you under the bus. He's like, I'm already ready.
Well, does anyone have anything else they'd like to share? Okay, everyone's ready to stand up and go do something else. If there's nothing further, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:30.